Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our ANS Research Workshop Citation Managers. Today, we will be talking about Zotero specifically. My name is Gabrielle Pasick, and my colleague here is Eve Mansfield, and I am a research and instructional services librarian here at UA.
I'm Gabe Mansfield. I'm the one of the science and engineering librarians on campus.
And librarians are a wonderful resource for you. You can always contact us with any questions you have, both with citation managers or any other research questions. We're always happy to help. So for today, we will be talking about Zotero, what it is, how you set it up, organizing it, and then we'll delve into different parts of creating a bibliography. Gabe will be describing more of those in-depth features with those plug-in Microsoft Word and reading and annotating PDFs. And we'll go ahead and get started. Zotero is an open source program, also a website where you can organize and save your sources, your citations. Not only that, you can read the sources through Zotero. It's a fairly easy layout compared to other citation managers. We would encourage Zotero because this one specifically is not tied to any university logins. You can take all your research with you after graduation. So we think it's a wonderful tool. In addition to both the desktop application and online version, there is a mobile app for iOS and Android through Zotero. It is not meant to replace the full version, but it is a supplementary tool, and you can grab sources on the go and add them to your online library. So we wanted to just encourage you to download Zotero and to use it going forward in your research. So why do you need a citation manager? It's a wonderful tool for organization. It saves you a lot of time. Not only can you save your sources, but you can generate bibliographies and include references into documents such as Google Docs, Microsoft Word, and others that Gabe will be showing us in a little bit on how to do. But we also like the features of collaboration. It's very easy to add your colleagues to a project and share citations across the board, share sources, bibliographies with some of those group features. So we think it's really time saving. It's a very wonderful program, and we're excited to tell you more about it today. So with installing Zotero, I am going to X out of the slides to show you what it looks like on the website and also kind of show you a preview of the web version versus the actual desktop application. When you are on Zotero for the first time, you are going to see the page with a download button. I am logged into it because I already have an account, but if you are a first-time user, you would go here, I'll click login or sign up. It is completely free. There are options to get more storage. You could pay for different packages, but we do believe that the free version has enough information and storage capacities for your time as researchers and students here at UA, but that is an option. So when you are first on the website, you would click download. The current version is Zotero 7. There was a major interface change in the past 15 years, so it is a little bit different if you're used to the Zotero versions previously. It is available for all platforms, like the other versions, through this window here. I would encourage you to consider downloading it because the desktop version has much more features than the web library. And in addition, there is a Zotero connector that we highly recommend as well. This is where you will quickly save sources from databases, from on the web, from other places instead of just having to kind of go through a more difficult process. You can just quickly click a button, and I will be showing that in just a moment. But before I do show you a demo of saving from an external website, I just wanted to quickly show you the web library, what it looks like. So pretty similar to the standard web application, which I will be showing you after I save the source, but it'll be showing you just where your folders are, and we'll get into this in just a moment. It's very important to connect to the full text finder through UA libraries when you are setting up Zotero. So when you are on Zotero, you are going to want to, under Zotero, you're going to go to settings. It might be through edit settings general, depending on your browser. So when you scroll down, you're going to go to locate, library locate. The resolver must be University of Alabama. When you first open Zotero, it will say custom, but this will not give you the access to the full text finder through UA libraries. You'll have to go through and change that custom to United States and to find your institution, which is University of Alabama. And then once you select that and configure the settings, it will generate this base URL. You will not have to type this in or recreate anything. But if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to Gabe or myself. So once you install the Zotero connector, depending on the device you have and the version of your internet browser, it may look like the top right, like a file folder, and it will change depending on the source types you are selecting. So let's say I just want to go ahead and save one source from this page. I'm just going to click the very first source from JSTOR. And you can save it directly to your Zotero by going to the right-hand side. And notice how it looks like a little piece of paper. And you can save it there. And I made a folder called sports, so that's where you can go to save your work. I'm just going to click done. I'm going to also go back to the home page of our search results because I wanted to show you how you can save everything in bulk. I'm just going to click one back here. And let's say you want to save the first page of all these sources here. What you will do is you will click the little file folder, and notice how it changed back to a file folder from the paper that it looked like for an individual source. We're going to click that, and it is going to open up this window to select all the items that you want. And that's how you would select multiple files and add them to your Zotero. So I just wanted to quickly show you what that looks like on my screen here. So this was the source that we saved to English professional football and its communities. And there are other ways to save, like you can export an RIS file, and you can directly and manually include the source that you'd like through Zotero. You can select what kind of source it is and fill in the information. You can also use this little magic wand here to add the item by the digital object identifier, the ISBN, etc., with that information, and then it'll appear on your Zotero. So I just wanted to quickly show you how you would save and import items to Zotero from a database or an external website. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the share of my screen and hand it over to Gabe, who's going to talk more about the other features of Zotero.
All right. Thanks so much. Let me make sure I've got this here. All right. So we're going to be looking at how to organize our library. So thinking about different features that Zotero has, primarily, and kind of one of the biggest things that we can see, and this is a lot here, but let me see if I can find a little bit less hectic view here. Let's just go to this one for, oh, this. All right, so on the left-hand side there, we have what Zotero calls collections or sub-collections. These are just folders that you can kind of organize your library by. I would highly recommend, the more compartmentalized that you're able to do this, I think the easier it is to search for and organize your library there. So this main part here we've got is called My Library, and this is everything that is in my Zotero library. So this is absolutely everything. This is kind of your primary library, kind of quote unquote. And then again, we have our kind of collections or sub collections here. And so with that, you can kind of cascade them out to folders and subfolders, which is great. So if you've got, and as you can kind of see with the way that I've structured mine is, so for example, I've got research as kind of a main one here. And then, kind of depending on maybe what topic of research I'm doing. So like, for example, I've got one that says engineering publishing, and then I actually have a subfolder within that as well that says tentative to add. So maybe I'm thinking about adding it to a paper, but I'm not sure. So, that can be a really helpful way to do that. So that is kind of how folders work there. We also have things like notes, tags, or related items. So firstly, with notes here, and I'm actually going to jump to a shared folder just because it's got some examples of that. And I'll go over how to share folders here in just a moment. So for example, so I'm on this one here. So this is a shared folder, and I'm on the kind of individual record here. So librarian's perception on data librarianship. And if you notice there on the far right corner, there, far right side of your screen, there's a button here that says note. And so I clicked on that, and it looks like I've got one note here. And this is, and I think one of the easy ways or one of the nice ways that I like to use notes is to maybe give a very quick summary or a quick rundown of how I feel about an article, maybe if I want to include it or not. So for example, with this article, I said, unsure if this is relevant, and then I talk about what the article actually is discussing. So that might be a helpful way to use notes. We have tags as well here. And tags are going to be usually in this bottom left corner of your screen here. And so that is going to be kind of all the tags that are, I believe it's per folder. So for example, in this liaisonship folder, these are all of the tags that I have within these records. So if we look again at our individual record, we'll go on our right side of our screen here, and we see that it's got 5 different tags. So one of the interesting things that Zotero does whenever you import an article or any sort of record into it, it will usually take, if there's any sort of keywords or kind of identifying data, and it will actually import that directly into Zotero. Some citation managers do not do this. Zotero is one that does, and this can be very helpful. If, for example, we've got some of these here at the bottom or bottom left of our screen, so academic and research libraries. So we can kind of click and see, okay, well, which ones have these, which ones don't here. I'm trying to see if there's any that have multiple ones. So that's the other kind of interesting things, and maybe it's a trade-off with tags that are automatically imported, is sometimes they can be so specific that only one record comes up per one here. As it looks like what's happening right now. You can add your own tags though, so I want to make that clear as well. We could just go to our individual record and go to our tags button here and click the plus, and we could just add a tag in here. So for example, I'll just say test, and then we'll go to another one here. Let's go to this one, and then I'll just type in test. Right, and so theoretically here, if we go to our bottom left corner, we should see something that says test. There it is. And notice when I click on that, it's got both of these here. Now, these are not necessarily tied, I don't believe. I mean, they are per folder. However, if you have tags in multiple folders, you're able to kind of view those articles. So that way, if there's certain topics that are in commonality, but they're in different folders, that can be helpful to use that there. So, and then we have finally related articles. So this is going to be a little different than tags. I think this is kind of a one-to-one. So if you have maybe an article that was maybe somebody wrote an article on a particular topic here, and say they wrote a follow-up article, either about the same topic or a similar topic, that's where that related might come in handy. So you could just click the plus there on, for example, just like an individual record, and then you would select another article here. So I'll just select this first one here, and I'll click OK. And then notice I've got this one related here. It's actually pulled it up here. It looks like it's kind of highlighted there. So it knows, okay, this is related. So just some different tips and tricks and things to think about when organizing your library. I would recommend, the more organization that you can do, the better off you will be. I can't remember how many, oh yeah, okay. So I have 355 records or articles, books, et cetera, within this. And so, as you can kind of maybe tell, right, the more that you can organize, the better off that your research will be. It'll be a little easier to go through some of those things. So the last thing on organizing your library is going to be collaboration. And this is kind of one of my favorite features of Zotero. So the way you want to go through this first is actually to your web browser. I'm going to pull this over here. So I'm already logged in. But again, like Gabrielle mentioned, right, you would just log in to your Zotero through here. And then you would actually click on groups here, which is next to web libraries. So you want to click on groups. And then, so as you can see, so let me go back really quick to my group library. So you can see we've got ENG Pub Report 2024. We've got, oops, let's see. Okay. So right on the left here, so we've got Science IL and UL SBI Article 2024. So these are the three group libraries that I have with other people. And if I go to here, if I go to my browser, we can see I've got those up here as well. If I wanted to create a new group, I would just click create a new group, choose a name. So we'll just test. And then something else to think of, oops, let's see. Yes, okay. It just tells you what the URL is going to be at the bottom there. But something else to think about is the group type. So would you like it to be public, open membership, public, closed membership, or a private? So this can just kind of depend on, who's working on it. Do they have access to Zotero? So on and so forth there. So we'll choose this one here. This seems to be like the best one that I have used in the past, or public, closed, or private. Actually, we'll just do private here. So this will be one that no one else can see it except for people that are invited. So I would click create group, private, any group member. Yep. So this would be any permissions that you would want to add. And then we click to, I believe it's member settings. And then I would send more invitations. And then you would send emails, or if they already have a Zotero account, their username with commas or lines, so on and so forth. But that's how you would set that up. And then once you do that, you are able to, like I was just showing a minute ago here, you can add folders, do everything that you basically can do within Zotero, solo or alone. You can do with here as well. All right, so kind of along with that, so I'll just jump to our next one here, reading and annotating PDF. So as was mentioned, you can do this within the desktop application or the mobile app as well. You can kind of move your annotations into notes associated with those items. Notes and annotations are going to be linked to the page that they appear. So if you ever used Adobe Acrobat, how you annotate anything like that, highlight or make notes, it's going to be very similar, if not the same, in Zotero here. So yeah, can read notes or create notes from annotations as well. So if you for example, you've used Adobe Acrobat in the past and you bring that PDF into Zotero, all of that stuff should stay there as well. And I want to make a note of this as well. Any annotations or any highlights that you make in a shared folder is actually going to be viewable to those other collaborators as well. So this can be really great, if you're working on some research together. And you know, each person is kind of maybe you assign, you know, so many articles per person to kind of take a look at and read. You know, everyone will be able to look at those annotations or those highlights or anything like that on those PDFs. So that can be very, very helpful through that. Let me just double click on one just to demonstrate here. So you would just double click it, or for example, click the little caret there and access that full text PDF. And we've got also something of note, it will pick up where you left off. So for example, it looks like I had left off kind of towards the bottom of this article, but if I want to just scroll to the top here, right? Oops. There we go. All right. So we just scroll to the top there. And as you can see, I've already done some annotations here. And so you would just go to our any of these here. So if I wanted to make a note, I could add text, or if I wanted to add a note, I can underline, highlight, so on and so forth. Or usually you can just take your cursor and, for example, if I want to just highlight this sentence here, you can do that. You can change the color, so on and so forth. Very, very seamless and easy to use, in my opinion. So that can be very helpful. You don't really have to leave Zotero to do any of the annotations or editing, which is, I think, really great. So moving on, we're going to talk about generating a bibliography. This can be very helpful. You know, if maybe you're creating an annotated bibliography, or maybe you want to send, send some citations to another person, and you don't want to go through the hassle of, you know, adding them to a Zotero folder or anything like that. Just something real quick. This can be really helpful. Now, there's a couple ways that we can do this here. So, and again, you know, what I really like about Zotero is very straightforward. This is, you know, very easy to use. So I'm going to go back to, let's see, this one here. So I'll just grab a couple here. I'm going to use like shift and click here, or control click. And we'll just, so we've got 3, we'll do 4 here. And these are all going to be articles, but I'll right click and then I'm going to click create bibliography from items here after I right click it. And it's going to pull up a citation. You know, what citation do I want to use? I'll just do APA 7 here. And it's got a couple options here. So output method can be as an RTF file, HTML, or I can just copy it to my clipboard, or I can print it out. So I'll copy to clipboard for right now. I'll click OK, and I'm going to open just a test document here. And we're just going to pull up a new page, and I'm going to Control V, and we've got those up there in APA 7 format. So again, this is very helpful if, you know, maybe you're writing an email to somebody, you need to pull some citations in. This can be something that's just very straightforward and easy to use. There's a couple other ways we can select a folder and actually just generate a bibliography from that entire folder as well. We can drag and drop single items or create groups of items in documents. Or you can just control C, Control V, or it looks like Control Shift C. So yeah, Control Shift C, Control V to do that. So that's going to be kind of generally how you would want to use to, if you just wanted kind of a standalone bibliography. Now, if you're wanting to do something like integrating it, say you're writing a research paper or an article, and you're wanting to include those in your those citations in that. There's going to be a different way that you're going to want to do that. So let me close this out so we're not confused. All right, so we're going to move on here to Word plugins. So there's currently 3 word processors that Zotero is compatible with. We're going to show and kind of demonstrate Microsoft Word today. Google Docs, if you've got that browser extension installed, it'll already be installed for you, which is great. And then we won't be showing LibreOffice today, but we'll be showing Microsoft Word. So something to think about, Zotero has to be running. You've got to have that desktop application open as well as Microsoft Word, because that's how those two are going to be talking to each other. So make sure that's open. And Zotero should install our Microsoft Word integration when Zotero installs here. And if you go to the top of your Microsoft Word, if you open a new document or you've got an existing one, here, it should be on the ribbon here at the very top here. So we've got one here, it says Zotero. If you've got that, you're in the right place. So there should be a way to check that, and we can do that by going back to Zotero. And wherever your settings is at, I know it's a little different on Mac and Windows, it's under Edit. So we'll click that there. And I believe it is under Site. So if you go to Zotero Settings and then Site, and if you go down here, and if it is installed, it'll say it is currently installed. If it's not, there'll be an option to install it as well. So, but for example, and something to think about, remember what folder you're on, because we'll come back to that in just a minute. But let's go to our Word document here, and let's just add a citation here. So let's do the end of this paragraph. So we'll make sure we do that appropriately before the period. And before we do anything, we want to go to our document preferences and make sure we have selected the correct style, because that might cause a world of hurt if we don't we get through the whole paper and we're actually using a wrong citation. So make sure, so for example, we're just going to stick with APA 7 here and click OK. So we're good there. All right, and then I'm going to click Add Edit Citation. And we've got this little red bar that comes up here. Sometimes this bar gets hidden under Windows, so just kind of be aware. It should show up there at the bottom of your as a new kind of window for Zotero. So if you see 2, you're in the right place. So we're going to make sure that's open there. And again, something to really make sure that you've got this is your citation is going to be placed wherever your cursor is. So your cursor is up, for example, maybe on the title screen or the title page, and you're like, oh, I forgot to add a citation. You put it in there, that citation is going to show up at the top rather than maybe where you wanted it to go. So always make sure you've got your cursor where you want that citation to go. All right, so we've got our red bar here. So if we just start typing, maybe we want to go back to our folder, double check. So let's go ahead. Let's see if we can get Bartlett here. So I'll just start typing Bartlett. All right, and so we've got a couple things showing up here, but I've got this one here. This is the one I want, Bartlett 2022. All right, and so if I wanted to add another citation, I could do that as well. So let's try like Cohen, for instance, and we'll do this one here. And notice as well, so I've got my library, which is our solo library, but I've also got this other one here, which is our shared library. And so there's nothing extra you need to do. So if you've got maybe some shared documents in Zotero, all you have to do is just type in the author name or what, the title, whatever the case is. It just kind of generates depending on whatever you type in there. But we'll click on that as well. And then we'll do one more. And notice I'm able to do multiple citations in one sitting here. Let's see. Okay, we'll do Gobin here because it's got multiple authors. Gobin. And notice I type in Gobin and we've got Nelson and Gobin. So maybe with Nelson and Gobin, I'll add some page numbers. So we'll do like, I don't know, page 50 to 55. And notice when I put that in there, it's got that already set up. So when you're all ready to go with that particular citation, you'll just click or you'll select Enter. And all of that has shown up in the proper citation style. Something I've noticed, it should generate the full citation at the bottom here. Sometimes it doesn't do that. There we go. Sometimes you have to kind of click Add Edit Bibliography there if it's the first time. Usually it will do that automatically afterwards. Sometimes you got to get it a little started there. But notice as well, we've got that all set up and it's all doing it in alphabetical order as well. So like, for example, if we notice here, we've got Bartlett, Cohen, and then Nelson and Gobin. Down here, it's done it alphabetically for us already. So I'll do one more example just to show you what's going on. So we'll just do this one that we've got selected. Actually, we've got that selected in our Zotero library. So that's very awesome. So we'll just click on that and we'll do page 44 to 47. We'll add that. And notice as well, and this is kind of what I was originally trying to show, is it will show up within the references already. So you're able to do that. So that is kind of how you'd want to, in my recommendation, how you'd want to use that within Word. There's other features as well. This is just kind of getting started, so to speak. And we've got some step-by-step options as well on how to do that. So finally, we've got some additional resources that we would recommend. Obviously, Zotero's main website, zotero.org. Zotero also has some really great documentation that they have put together, whether it's kind of an FAQ or troubleshooting. They have done a really great job with providing a lot of resources for people. The university, have also provided a lot of resources here. We've got a research guide that talks about pretty much everything that we've just talked about today, which can be very helpful. And we've got this last one here, UA librarians. I would say nearly all of us use Zotero on a regular basis. So if you have any questions, any of us are happy to help. Right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you very much for attending, and please feel free to reach out to us through email, phone, or come stop by our office. We're always happy to help.